What is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News Live. Tonight we're going to talk about what we are actually going to be covering over on our show. We're going to go over the headlines real quick and fill you in. Then we're going to go in depth later on. We'll be right back right after this.
Apocalypse wrongs, looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse wrongs. Marfoogle News, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News, Marfoogle News. All right.
What is going on, guys? If you've never been here before, this is Marfoogle News. I am Adam, aka Marfoogle, and we're going to be talking about some of the stories we're going to be going in depth on tonight over on our sister channel, Marfoogle TV. If you've never been to one of our live call-in shows, of course, there is a number down below, but you will not be able to call that right now. What we are doing is we're going to set up so you can call later and actually be informed on what you are calling about. So we're trying to change things up a little bit, and we're also trying to come over here more often. Obviously, it seems like Marfoogle News is neglected just a bit. We have 154,000 subscribers here. We have 115,000 subscribers over on Marfoogle TV. And then, of course, our growing D-Live community of almost 18,000. So we need to show love to all of them. So I'm glad to have you guys here. I'm super happy to introduce all of the articles we're going to go over. Remember, later on, you're actually going to be able to go into our website and go and archive and see all of the articles that we're talking about here right now. For now, though, I'm going to hit this real quick just so you guys know. If you guys want to support us in another way, you can actually support us by going through NordVPN. Right now, everyone should be protecting themselves digitally, since I know you are spending 20 hours a day on your phone, tablet, or PC. Again, what this does is it puts you somewhere else. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN if you would like to support us that way. Again, we're going to actually hit this. Russia just tested a satellite killer. We're going to be going in depth on this, and we're actually going to be telling you some information about this that we got, or that I got yesterday. So we'll be going over that tonight. Dex, obviously, I wanted to bring you in too. This is kind of a huge deal that they're advertising satellite killers around this specific time.
Yeah, sure is. I mean, everybody seems to be pulling out the guns on the side right now. And, we've got, I guess this is what we have our Space Force for, and we'll see how this plays out.
So we're going to go in depth on that. A perfect storm. Extreme groups look for ways to exploit the CV event that we have here. Of course, we're going to go in depth on that. Exclusive, Washington, D.C. faces a spike, or supposedly a spike. Secret military task force prepares to secure the Capitol. That is, of course, the headline. We're going to go over that and tell you guys what we know about what is going on in both Washington's, mine and D.C., of course. We have grave concerns about CV immunity passports. This is something that is going around right now on Twitter as well. They are talking about something that you would essentially have to be able to go places and things like this. And what does that mean? What makes the difference between somebody who's holding that passport and somebody who's not? That's the scary part. Airline passengers are going to be undergoing CV blood tests before boarding. Blood tests before boarding planes. We're going to go in depth on that tonight.
That's insane, Adam.
Could you imagine doing that before getting onto a plane?
Yeah, I mean, it's bad enough you're going into an airport, right? And you're going to get your blood taken in the airport.
Exactly. So again, this is going to be a new world. And that's really what we mean here. This is literally going to be a new world. And I don't think it's set in. It's very hard to kind of accept the circumstances that we are dealing with right now. This has never happened in history, period. And again, this is a completely different time. Every 10 years, the technology doubles and triples now, every year, really. But we're talking about, this is a different age. They had all the Bronze Age and the Stone Age. And this is the crazy age. Let's just say that. It says a very scary idea how this platform's daddy and Apple CV-19 tracing could turn people into pariah. Basically, if you were sick, people would be able to see that and avoid you and possibly treat you like a leper. That's people's concerns, of course. Is that going to happen? We don't know. And then again, we're going to be covering this. Obviously, that's going to be something that we would want to go more in depth on. So much is unknown about the pandemic because the area above us is keeping a lid on it. So we're actually going to be covering that in depth as well with your opinions. Again, the number is 224-400-MARF. Remember, you can call us later and actually get in on the show live and let your views be known. Smithfield Foods, now the largest CV hotspot in U.S. CDC Sioux Falls to investigate. What does this mean? This is one of the largest meat processing companies out there, and it is now a Dex. I mean, I don't think people, when I said something about that meat is running out, I actually misspoke on my Twitter, and I actually tried to fix that. Meat is not running out necessarily, but somebody responded, they go, meat is not running out. We have farms all over America. We have tons of farms right here in America. Let me just tell you, you will be shocked by the amount that we actually import. Over 300 billion pounds of meat. If not, it's 3 billion pounds of meat. And the percentage that all of the United States uses from right here in the United States is a number that will shock you, just like the antibiotics number, of course, which was 90% of them were made over in China. Technically not even our ally, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, and even if we have meat, the biggest problem I see with this, Adam, is if we're losing processing facilities, we're losing the ability to have economical food solutions for the consumers, right? It may be easy to get a $25 steak, but it's not easy to get, a $1.50 pack of hot dogs to feed your kid.
Exactly. The cheaper, more affordable food, which, again, people are not going to have money for T-bones here, and they already don't. How many people do you know that were living paycheck to paycheck and now are literally 2 paychecks past that? So think about this. Now, they have made it so you can't evict right now. When it does come back, it's going to come in hard. And we've covered this. They've done surveys. They absolutely know for a fact that there's going to be evictions all over the country of the United States. Now, this is the same thing that's going on around the world. Imagine what is going to happen. All of those families are going to get desperate. There's Foogle family members here in our community that are already at that point right now. They do not know what they are going to do. On top of that, Dex, even you kind of looked into what a deferment would look on your house. And they said essentially that if you did do anything, there's no point to it because at the end of the 3 or 4 month period, you would have to pay it all in one chunk. That's not helpful. Nobody's going to have that chunk to pay at the very end. So again, and everybody's looking at what options, and of course Dex did that just to investigate and see, what would it be, and are they truly not charging people's mortgages? So again, they are, and it is some are getting deferred for 6 months, but are they passing that on to the people they are renting their houses to? A lot of people rent houses, and they're not giving that break down to the lower level. So again, this is way more serious than people want to see. It's cognitive dissonance. People do not want to hear this negativity, and I understand that. And I actually tell people, if you don't want to hear this scary stuff, then don't watch. But again, I will say this. When you face your fears and when you look at this scary stuff and you talk about it on a daily basis, or at least, a couple days a week, you can actually know it. It doesn't affect you as bad. You're not irrational when the really bad stuff happens because you have been prepared for it. You've been thinking about it. Most of the people in this group are the matriarchs or the patriarchs of the family, the mothers and the fathers that are the ones that are preparing everything. They're the ones that people called crazy months ago for prepping and for having extra food stores. Now, there's one thing to, live by a river and live by yourself and shun all human contact. But there's another being logical, just like the military, just like the government, having plans and getting prepared and having basically the equipment to be ready for anything. If nothing goes wrong, guess what? You have some extra food. If something goes wrong, you survive. That's easiest, most rational, most logical thing to do, but yet it is looked at. And this goes all the way back to Mockingbird and Paperclip and JFK. It goes all the way back then to make people like this look crazy, because they do not want every single person prepared for anything, because that would mess up a whole lot of ops. Just saying. And we know this from history. History has repeated itself over and over and over. Police thy neighbor. People snitching. Virus fears fuel quarantine shaming. And again, I've had this happen. The first couple days after this whole thing happened, we were getting stared at by every single person when we drove by. Again, we weren't even told we couldn't drive, but people were looking at us like we were criminals in our own neighborhood. One lady on Twitter said that her and her kid were in her own front yard in a big neighborhood, and her neighbor literally is screaming inside of her kitchen saying, "Get in your house." And this lady's like, "Just stay in your house, Barbara." And it started an entire joke line on Twitter of bitch ass Barbaras. And really, there's a lot of Barbaras out there. And you might be the Barbara. That's fine. But just know that you keep an open mind. Are you being manipulated into doing that? We're going to talk about that later on the show. We're going to go in depth into all of these articles and more on Marfoogle TV. Another 5 million people followed jobless claims last week, bringing total to almost 22 million in 1 month. That is unbelievable. We were at the very tippiest of the mountains of unemployment, being the greatest it's been, as far as like the least amount of people going without jobs. Now it is historic levels. There are so many people that are dependent on this that, I mean, this is it. This is the stuff of nightmares that we've talked about people have been talking about for decades, but now it's finally here. And now that it's finally here, you need to be prepared, because your neighbors are going to call you crazy. They're going to say, "Oh, this will just blow right over." You're smarter than that. You're not stupid. You're not out there thinking, "Oh, it's going to be all gravy and this is all going to turn back on." I see an internal argument of people that are fans of our president and people that are not, arguing even in the same side. Neither one of them are on the other direction. These are all, right-leaning people that are arguing over what this is and what this isn't, if this is a good thing or if this is a bad thing. There's no reason that we should not be able to say, first off, the president has to lie to us on a regular basis. Every single president in history has had to lie to the people. And here's the thing. That's because he has a confidential, top secret clearance that we don't. So if you say, "Oh, does Hot Musket exist?" They say no. Is that technically a lie? Yes. Is something like that there to protect us? In some ways, yes. Sometimes they have to lie to protect us. So understand that. So, but one thing I've seen is now people are getting so caught up in fighting with each other because this person is saying, "Oh, he's not telling the truth," or "not this or that." Why are you focused on that? Why are you focused on that other person and their views rather than preparing yourself? It's absolutely nuts. The CV, the perished increased by record amounts for second straight day. This is the numbers we're getting, of course, which is saying that it was rising by at least 2,371 in 1 day. So that is the official numbers. So we will talk about that later, including some other stuff. IMF cautions renewed social unrest possible amid this. I also shared Bloomberg and other pieces saying that they're looking at the math and they're looking at people's situations. And yes, there's a very good chance that something like Michigan could turn into something way, way bigger. And we're talking about every person clapping on their porch, only in a bad way. Think about that. You've got people across the entire planet clapping at a certain time. That can easily turn into every person on the planet doing something negative, especially in the financial situation everyone is at. Then you have far this way, U.S. politicians label lockdowns anti-constitutional. Are they? Are they not? I would love to hear your opinion on this later on down the road. We're going to be on Marfoogle TV live, getting your views on this and more. And then, of course, we have protesters gather outside of the Capitol over Bashir's handling of CV-19. We're going to be covering that. We're going to show you some tweets regarding this later on over on Marfoogle TV. Americans want to boycott Chinese goods, and companies like Amazon should help them, Senator Rick Scott says. Now, there's a huge, huge deal here because, and Dex has a prediction, and I almost agree with him, that we are soon going to see a huge future of boycotting anything made over there. This is setting up the anger against them to not make anything, whereas now every single thing on the bottom of it says made in China. It's going to be the complete reverse if we can make through it, or at least that's what people think. And if that happens, guess who's not going to be happy? Starts with a she, ends with a ping. UK government must prevent Chinese firms from buying Western technologies, former MI6 chief claims. We're going to talk about this later on. You guys are going to be surprised on what is actually going on. U.S. military planes spotted after China sends naval ships past Taiwan. Of course, we've got our Navy apparently going after the cartel. We'll leave that for later. And then China's claim of 0 CV infections in military is bogus, or so they say. Sign of intimidating rivals, experts say. Why would they need to intimidate? Why are they cutting communications on all gaming platforms? So, no more talking on Animal Crossing with anyone outside of China. Why would they be cutting off all of these cell phones? There was over 21 million people, cell phones that just disappeared. Why? Were those dissidents? Were those people spreading the truth, spreading something else? Are they even still here on this planet? Or were they victims? We don't know. We'll talk about that. China sends aircraft carrier near Japan, Taiwan, and U.S. Navy struggles with the virus. Again, they had a fire on one of their large super carriers. Still no kind of explanation for that. They said something. Dex, did we ever get an explanation for that, by the way?
No, we did not, and I'm not even sure if it was an under construction carrier is what it sort of looked like in the picture, but we haven't confirmed that yet.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. We'll check up on that before our next show. And then, of course, China continues South China Sea military action despite this event. And that is the Spratly Islands. Before all of this went down, they literally made an FOB, or a forward operating base, at the halfway point from China to United States. Still nothing's going on. Oh, and they tested nuclear devices secretly in the last couple days. Nothing's happening. Look the other way. You're all good. Uncle Sam's gotcha. Russian jet flies within 25 feet of U.S. spy plane in, quote, unsafe high-speed maneuver. We'll talk about this later. I'll tell you why this doesn't worry me as much, just because this kind of thing happens on a weekly basis. But we'll ask our military group if this is something that you should be worried about. Again, this is some serious stuff that we've had to deal with for a long time. we will show you tonight in depth. Our shows run from 2 hours to 3 hours long. You'll be able to call in at 224-400-MARF. With that being said, you can follow me on Twitter for notifications at Marfoogle. Very, very easy to follow. Boom, boom, boom. I am right here. That is my icon. If you guys want to check that out, you will be able to see every notification, closing in on 15,000 followers. If you want to help me get to that 15,000 mark, you can just go over and follow. If you guys want to help us support us and possibly save your own butt, this is something that everyone should think about. With everything that is going on, I would trust something like this over nothing at all. EMP Shield is an actual protection against it. This is what the DoD, the DHS, and the DEMSO team protecting Texas grid is using to protect our grid. After the DHS resilience report that said that every American needed 6 months to a year of food because of a possible grid down scenario, they called in these guys. Again, this is Keystone tested military standard, and it protects against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and an E3. Not only that, it can actually protect against a coronal mass ejection, the natural form of that. With satellite killers and everything going around, it's just a good idea. If you guys don't get it through us, if you don't want to support us, go around us. Go to a different creator. Don't put our code in. Go directly Google their website. Get one. Even if you are a hater or a troll of this show, you can say whatever you want in the comment section, but go separately over and grab one. In the end, I don't think people will give us any crap. It's 100% American made. They are still employing a ton of Americans, so make sure to go support. All right, that is, again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can get devices for your car, your ham radio, your solar system, your house. And that will be all. I love you guys. Have a great night. Dex, thank you so much for all of your help. We will see you later on the show. This is how to join our Discord. 50 state groups. You can get prepared together.
You want to know what's going on? What's really going on when it happens? Go to marfooglenews.com and get Marfoogle alerts along with a Discord invitation where you can find your local state group and get together with the Foogle Fam. You'll find fast friends where you'll share prep and intel, and there's even special groups for former and current military. But don't try and steal the valor of those who have really served. It won't go well for you. The Marfoogle Fam is waiting for you.